Chapter 2041, Direct Attack. Chapter 2041, Direct Attack. The dashing, silver-haired Yi Futian and the stunning, heavenly goddess Taihua were facing each other in the law battle platform. The battle between the two divine melodies ended in a tie. Although Yi Futian and goddess Taihua were competing against each other, many people believed that they would make a perfect couple. In the past, they felt this way about Ninghua and goddess Taihua. Now, however, they realized that Yi Futian seemed to be an even better match for goddess Taihua than Ninghua. He also excelled at the divine melodies. It would be perfect if they could play the guqin together. They played the divine melody Taihua and the song of the lost divine just now. The audience was quite satisfied for hearing two divine melodies contend with each other at the Donghua banquet today. They couldn't help but exclaim how astonishing and eye-opening the matches between top cultivators were. Goddess Taihua and Yi Futian looked into each other's eyes on the law battle platform. Yi Futian spoke with a smile. I learned a lot from listening to you performing the divine melody today. It's truly my blessing. You're much better at music than me. Many people were impressed by Yi Futian's modesty. As a legendary cultivator, Yi Futian was exceptionally humble. He tied with goddess Taihua despite being in a lower cultivation level. Yet he still praised her for being better at music. The audience could clearly tell that neither of them could gain the upper hand. This battle of the divine melodies ended with a draw. You're so modest, Ren Huangyi. It's my honor to have a chance to listen to the song of the lost divine, goddess Taihua responded. A person who had an ear for music, naturally, wanted to learn about all the famous songs in the world. She was delighted to appreciate the song of the lost divine today, even though she didn't beat her opponent. It was such a rare opportunity. Two people who excelled at the divine melodies met at the Donghua banquet. Sitting in the Donghua palace, Emperor Shi looked at Yi Futian and goddess Taihua, who were standing on the law battle platform, and said, It's indeed a pleasure to listen to the divine Taihua melody and the song of the lost divine at the same time. It's a unique experience even for us. The divine Taihua melody is vigorous and forceful, and could suppress the great path in the world. The song of the lost divine is melancholy and sorrowful, filled with lasting regrets, which could disturb and frustrate the great path. They truly deserve to be among the 10 divine melodies of the divine prefecture. Thunder Punishing Skylord chimed in. While speaking, Thunder Punishing Skylord gazed at Yi Futian with an inscrutable look. It was more and more difficult for him to figure Yi Futian out. He had never met a youngster who had unfathomable abilities. Yi Futian seemed to be thoroughly accomplished in everything. There was nothing that he had not cultivated. It was said that Yi Futian gained fame for his swordsmanship, but none of the skills he displayed later was less proficient than his swordsmanship. On top of that, he could blend the path of the sword with other types of law power and make the best of his advantages. For instance, the swordplay happened during the Song of the Lost Divine just now. Was he really just a disciple from the Eastern Deity Island? Even if the supreme deity Donglai was still alive, it was unlikely for him to raise such an extraordinary cultivator, let alone his daughter, who was the current head of the Eastern Deity Island. After all, hardly anyone of the same generation in the entire Donghua domain was a match for Yi Futian. That's right. This Donghua banquet is certainly a success for having so many remarkable cultivators. They will all be the mainstay of the Donghua domain in the future, Chief Ning said with a smile. People nodded in agreement. The divine prefecture had been united for more than 300 years, but few master cultivators were born and raised during this time. Many of them already reached the peak before the unification of the divine prefecture. As time went by, the younger generation sprang up and would be in the same league sooner or later. The best of them might even surpass the current master cultivators. It goes without saying that the vice chief will inherit the chief's legacy and lead the next generation to preside over the Donghua domain. The palace lord of the Lingxiao Palace said, simpering. Yi Futian and goddess Taihua returned to their seats in the area below the Donghua Palace. Many cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower were staring at Yi Futian and felt even more curious about him. Awesome! A high-level Run Huang from Wangshan Watchtower expressed his admiration. Where did you learn the divine melody? Besides, You can master several types of power of the Great Path. How many years have you been cultivating? Someone asked out of curiosity. Yi Futian looked extremely young. Although it was hard to estimate a cultivator's exact age, it was possible to venture a rough guess if looking closely enough. Judging by his appearance, Yi Futian couldn't have cultivated for more than 100 years. How did he achieve that? It felt like there was nothing that he couldn't do. Nevertheless, Beigong Ao and Beigong Shuang were used to it. They had already known how versatile Yi Futian was, and wouldn't be staggered no matter what miracle Yi Futian made happen. They understood that Yi Futian shouldn't be considered and judged as a normal human being. He was a real genius. At this point, Yan Hanqing's voice rang out in the direction of the Great Yin ancient royal family. The Great Yin competed with Wangshan Watchtower back in the Turtle Deity Island. Why don't you take advantage of the opportunity provided by the Donghua banquet and learn from the disciples of the Millet Emperor? Quite some people were surprised to hear Yan Hanqing's words. Countless pairs of eyes focused on him in an instant. Chief Ning said in the past that they might have a chance to fight when they came to the Donghua heavens. They were all here now. Besides, the Great Yin ancient royal family already targeted Lung Qinghan from the Lung family during the first law battle. Yi Futian vanquished Yin Dongyang after that, and further deepened the enmity. The Great Yin ancient royal family didn't attempt to hide their hostility anymore. They were directly proclaiming war against Wangshan Watchtower. A person walked out of the crowd. Many cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower put on a solemn face when they recognized him. It was Yan Qi, another prince of the Great Yin ancient royal family. Yan Qi was a third-order Renhuang, with a perfect divine wheel of the Great Path. He had extraordinary strength, and might be even stronger than Yin Dongyang when fighting against opponents at the same level. Wangshan Watchtower might not have any lower Renhuang who could win over him. A prince of the Great Yin ancient royal family? People started gossiping right away. Yes. Someone nodded and said, the Great Yin ancient royal family is going to attack Wangshan Watchtower at the Donghua banquet. I'm afraid that they have planned it for a long time and waited till now. Besides, the Great Yin ancient royal family has issued an official challenge. Yet the Wangshan Watchtower couldn't keep asking Yi Futian to deal with them. It's going to be a test for the Renhuangs from Wangshan Watchtower. I'm Yan Qi from the Great Yin Third Order Renhuang. Please feel free to send out anyone you want. Yan Qi walked toward the law battle platform while speaking. Although he told Wangshan Watchtower to dispatch a cultivator at their will, they couldn't select anyone at a higher cultivation level, since Yan Qi already announced his level. The vibe changed abruptly. People shifted their eyes to the cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower, who seemed more somber than usual. The cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower apparently understood that it was almost impossible for their lower Renhuangs to defeat Yan Qi. Yan Qi is a talented prince of the Great Yin ancient royal family. He must have remarkable abilities. Wangshan Watchtower might be put in a disadvantaged position if we send someone at the same level. Qingfeng, go ahead, said Li Changsheng. Everyone immediately widened their eyes in surprise. But Li Changsheng smiled, as though he wasn't aware of people's gaze. Lu Qifeng was a fourth-order Renhuang, and the only middle-level Renhuang from Wangshan Watchtower, who had a perfect divine wheel of the Great Path. He obviously had an edge over Yan Qi for being at a higher cultivation level. Li Changsheng, what do you mean? Yan Hanqing glared at Li Changsheng and asked. Li Changsheng narrowed his eyes and looked at Yan Hanqing. With a smile on his face he countered. What? The Prince of the Great Yin told us to feel free to pick anyone. I selected Qingfeng. What's wrong with that? A middle-level Renhuang is matched against a lower Renhuang. What do you think? Yan Hanqing retorted in a cold voice. He knew Li Changsheng was playing dumb. Then why did you ask us to pick anyone we want if you want to limit to the same level? Li Changsheng said sarcastically. People from the Great Yin ancient royal family were a little embarrassed. The Great Yin didn't care about cultivation level when you were fighting against Brother Yi before. Did you? You have sent out 5th order, 6th order, and even high-level Renhuangs, right? Aside from everyone else, what level was Yin Dongyang in during the battle at Wangshan Watchtower? What level was Brother Yi on? Li Changsheng said in a sneering tone. If they insist on limiting to contenders at the same cultivation level, Brother Yi, may I trouble you to challenge the cultivators from the Great Yin one by one? Sure. Yi Futian answered and stood up. Everyone from the Great Yin ancient royal family looked quite awkward. Li Changxing was determined to keep Wangshan Watchtower from being taken advantage of. Having said that, it was true that everyone who fought against Yi Futian on behalf of the Great Yin was at a higher cultivation level than him. Li Changxing sounded reasonable from that point of view, since people knew the Great Yin ancient royal family was deliberately attacking Wangshan Watchtower and might be brutal and merciless with their cultivators. Li Changxing certainly wouldn't let the Great Yin have their way. Fine, he'll do. Yin Qi, who was standing on the law battle platform, spoke up. He agreed to spar with Lu Qingfeng. Yin Hanqing glared at Li Changxing, but didn't say anything else. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2042, Joining Forces. Chapter 2042, Joining Forces. Yin Qi and Lu Qingfeng stepped onto the law battle platform. The atmosphere seemed somewhat different. Now it was more than just a simple spar. This battle involved the vendetta between the two parties. It concerned the struggle between Wangshan Watchtower and Great Yin ancient royal family. Li Changxing, Zhong Chan, Yi Futian, as well as the other cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower, were looking at the law battle platform. Even though Li Changxing casually dispelled the animosity directed at them by Great Yin ancient royal family, he also understood that the situation was not as optimistic as it appeared. Great Yin ancient royal family had come prepared. Their opponent's lineup was stronger than theirs. For example, the prince of Great Yin ancient royal family, Yin Qi, was a lower-level Renhuang with a flawless great path. He had no match among the lower-level Renhuangs of Wangshan Watchtower. Hence, Wangshan Watchtower could only send the fourth-tier Renhuang, Lu Qingfeng, to go against him. It was not very honorable. Before this, Wangshan Watchtower had treated Yi Futian in such a manner, because he indeed was powerful to such an extent. Elder brother, what are our chances in winning this battle? Yi Futian asked Li Changxing, who was beside him, as he looked in that direction. It was still alright if they won. If the fourth-tier Lu Qingfeng were to be defeated, it would be somewhat embarrassing. By losing with someone who had an advantage, Wangshan Watchtower's image would be somewhat tarnished. I am not too sure about Yin Qi's ability, Li Changxing replied. However, rumor has it that he is considered incredible among Great Yin ancient royal family. His talent is not inferior to that of Yin Dongyang. Although Yin Dongyang is far from being a match for you, he is still a prominent figure in the cultivation world. It will be difficult for members of the same plane to defeat him. Hence, it is unclear who will win this battle. Even if Lu Qingfeng wins, it won't be an easy victory. He appeared casual as he spoke, but in reality, he was somewhat worried. Of course, Yi Futian also understood that Yin Dongyang was not weak. It was just that he had encountered Yi Futian. After all, Yi Futian had cultivated too many techniques along the way, and had many fateful encounters. A prince of an ordinary ancient royal family could not possibly compare with Yi Futian. We'll see. If Lu Qingfeng is defeated, younger brother Zong will immediately go out, Li Changxing said. If Zong Chan were to take the field at the same plane, the Great Yin ancient royal family would not be able to find anyone who could prove a match for him. Their goal of sending Zong Chan was to intimidate the opponent. Of course, if they won this battle, that would be even better. Zong Chan would not need to fight so soon. As they discussed this, the battle had already begun on the law battle platform. The prince of the Great Yin ancient royal family, Yin Qi, attacked extremely aggressively. He was as overbearing and dominant as a divine golden dragon. A pure-blooded dragon circled him in the sky above, causing the spectators to sense a frightening pressure. Lu Qingfeng was proficient in swordsmanship. He was like a breeze blowing through the leaves of a willow. His seemingly gentle swordsmanship actually contained an extremely sharp aura. His grace contained great strength. His sword skills appeared ethereal. Both of their attacks contrasted each other. Even though this was not a pinnacle showdown between prominent figures, It was still a showdown between two top forces. Hence, the cultivators around were watching attentively. As they watched this ferocious battle, the people below said, as expected, Yin Qi truly is a member of great Yin ancient royal family. The blood of the royal family of the Yin kingdom flows in his veins. His attacks are domineering. Even though his cultivation plane is lower than his opponent's, his momentum is actually more powerful. He seems to be seizing the initiative. The royal children of great Yin ancient royal family are the elites of the Yin kingdom. They are extraordinary. Although the Ran Huang from the Wangshan watchtower also has a flawless great path, it won't be easy for him to win. Many people discussed below. The battle in the law battle platform was growing more intense. Yin Qi did not plan to give Lu Qingfeng any opportunity to counterattack as he attacked again and again, like a war machine. However, Lu Qingfeng had a higher cultivation plane than him, and managed to nullify his attacks. At that moment on the battlefield, both of them retreated backward. The crowd seemed to hear swooshing sounds. As they looked onto the battlefield, cracks appeared on the huge dragon armor covering Yin Qi's body. Blood seeped out from the cracks. Yin Qi appeared to have been injured. Lu Qingfeng wielded a sword in his hand. Blood dripped from the sword. Lu Qingfeng's attacks seemed soft and gentle, but in reality, they are indomitable. His grace contains great strength, and he is mighty. He still has an advantage being at a higher cultivation plane. It appears that even though Yin Qi is overbearing, he is still going to lose, the people below discussed. Yin Qi glanced down at his injury. Divine light of the great path flowed down his figure, and his wound was instantly healed. An astonishing dragon cry could be heard. It shook the heavens and the earth. The great path trembled as the song of the young dragon radiated outwards. Sound waves of the great path swept out, causing Lu Qingfeng to feel like his eardrums were about to burst. This song of the young dragon seemed endless. It reverberated all around them. The dragon cry caused the heavens to tremble. The crowds felt their heads vibrate violently. As they watched in astonishment, Yin Qi became a divine pure-blooded dragon and charged directly at Lu Qingfeng. This gigantic divine dragon descended with the might of the great path. It hovered above and covered the sky. It was domineering. Under the effects of the ear-piercing sound wave attack, the sword in Lu Qingfeng's hand shook uncontrollably. It was not because Lu Qingfeng's hands were shaking. Instead, the sword itself was vibrating. The crowd watched as the gigantic divine dragon consumed this part of the sky and dove down towards Lu Qingfeng. Raging waves of the great path swept out. The crowd heard the sound of intense vibrations. Then, everything seemed to clear up. When they saw the two figures again, Yin Qi had already returned to his original form. His robes were stained with blood. His dragon scale armor was mostly shattered and covered in bloodstains. However, Lu Qingfeng was even worse off. His chest was punctured. Frightening claw marks appeared on his chest. It was as though he had been slashed by a dragon claw that directly penetrated his body. He was covered in blood as well. He stared at Yin Qi, and then spat out a mouthful of jet-black blood. His face was pale, and his aura was rapidly weakening. He appeared extremely wretched. So vicious, the crowd thought to themselves as they witnessed this scene. Both of them had attacked too viciously. Although Chief Ning had prefaced this, the crowd also understood that if two major forces were to clash, they would certainly attack viciously just like they had done now. They were no longer merely sparring. However, the crowd knew this was inevitable due to the grudges between the two major forces. Who could have imagined that the victor was actually Yin Qi? Many people exclaimed in surprise. Before this, Lu Qingfeng had been suppressing Yin Qi. However, at the last minute, Yin Qi seemed to become even more ferocious. He sent out his most vicious attack and severely injured Lu Qingfeng. Although he had also received heavy wounds, compared to Lu Qingfeng, he came out of that exchange far better off. The cultivators of the Wangshan watchtower had very cold gazes. Yin Qi had actually attacked so cruelly. Great Yin ancient royal family was clearly aiming to kill them. Younger brother Lu, shouted Li Changsheng. Lu Qifeng limped out of the law battle platform with his injuries. Clearly, he had lost this battle. Yin Qi also walked out after him. Before Yin Qi could return to his seat, the crowd saw another person stand up. However, surprisingly, The person who had stood up was not a cultivator from the great Yin ancient royal family. Instead, it was a cultivator from Lingxiao Palace. Many people revealed bizarre expressions. Had Lingxiao Palace and great Yin ancient royal family agreed to join forces against Wangshan Watchtower? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2043, Group Battle? Chapter 2043, Group Battle? In Donghua Palace, when the Millet Emperor saw the scene below, he looked over at Emperor Yan of Great Yin ancient royal family, as well as Ling Yunzi, the Lingxiao Palace Lord. He asked, "Did the two of you plan this? We have been sitting here in Donghua Palace all this while. What could we have discussed?" Ling Yunzi replied. His tone carried an air of indifference. "Is that so?" the Millet Emperor said as he swept a gaze over the other party. Full of mistrust, he said, "Back on Turtle Deity Island, the members of the Yin Kingdom came into conflict with the disciples of the Wangshan Watchtower. It seems that the disciples of Lingxiao Palace threw coal onto the fire. Could it be due to Ling He holding a grudge for losing to Yi Futian, when comprehending the teachings left by Thunder punishing Skylord on the cliff face? Or is it because Lingxiao Palace Lord is unsatisfied with me? Or might it be due to both of these reasons?" Before this, the Millet Emperor was suspicious of Supreme Deity Donglai's death. Hence, he had brought his members over to participate in the Donghua banquet and observe the attitude of Lingxiao Palace. As expected, Lingxiao Palace had secretly joined forces with the great Yin ancient royal family. Right then, the Millet Emperor felt a bad premonition. "You can choose to interpret it as you wish," Ling Yunzi replied nonchalantly. "However, today is the Donghua banquet. Chief has already said that during the Donghua banquet, prominent figures will challenge each other here. Surely the Millet Emperor will not spoil the fun for everyone, right?" The other giant figures did not say anything. They merely sat there quietly and watched. It was inappropriate for the other forces to intervene in the grudge between Wangshan Watchtower and the Yin Kingdom, as well as Lingxiao Palace. If the Millet Emperor feels that it is inappropriate, there is nothing stopping you from walking away from the challenge, Chief Ning said to the Millet Emperor. "Master, we came to participate in the Donghua banquet to challenge each other and seek the way. We have no reason to reject their challenge," Li Chongqing said as he raised his head and looked at the Millet Emperor. Even if they lost on the law battle platform, it would be an experience. How could they let the Millet Emperor cower from his enemies? As cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower, this was their burden to bear. Even if they lost, they still had to fight. "That's right. Let's continue," said Zhong Chan and the other Renhuangs as they looked up at the Millet Emperor in Donghua Palace. There was absolutely no reason for Millet Emperor to avoid this battle. If that happened, the Millet Emperor would be the first person to go against the rule of the Donghua banquet. Wouldn't that embarrass him before the various top forces? As cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower, they did not need to withdraw. The Millet Emperor looked at the members below, and then nodded his head and said, "Be careful." He did not say any more. Although both forces were targeting them, for the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower, this was also a trial. The other party did not dare to kill under any circumstances. This was the Donghua banquet. No one dared to defy this rule. Their second match was against an extraordinary figure from Lingxiao Palace, who was a lower-level Renhuang. He challenged a cultivator from Wangshan Watchtower. The result was even more tragic than the first battle. It was a one-sided massacre. The Renhuang from Wangshan Watchtower was suppressed from the beginning to end. It could even be considered a slaughter. The other party also intentionally did not rush to defeat their opponent, instead possessing a somewhat playful attitude. He tortured the Renhuang from the Watchtower before dealing a vicious blow at the end. This caused the expressions of the other cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower to turn extremely ugly. Before their battle had ended, Yi Futian had already stood up. However, up above, Ling Yunzi said, "The law battles are carried out so that the various disciples can have the opportunity to experience each other's abilities. There is no need for one person to keep fighting. Even if this is a battle between two forces, Each round, different cultivators from both sides should come out to clash against one another. Everyone has witnessed Yi Lionian's ability. If he battles repeatedly, doesn't that make it seem as though the other cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower are incompetent? Emperor Shi said, if Great Yin Ancient Royal Family and Lingxiao Palace are targeting Wangshan Watchtower, the number of cultivators from these two forces will far outnumber that of Wangshan Watchtower. The two forces can choose more incredible figures from their midst. Isn't that somewhat inappropriate? He continued with a smile. Of course, I am just casually saying this. How do Chief and the rest of you feel about this? What teacher says is reasonable. Today was to be the showdown between the various forces. However, on Turtle Deity Island, these three parties came into conflict with one another. There is no issue in them utilizing the Donghua banquet to battle it out. However, it is still impossible to make it absolutely fair. Thunder Punishing Skylord added with a smile. Before the other cultivators, a giant figure such as Thunder Punishing Skylord still referred to Emperor Shi as his teacher. It was clear that he still respected Emperor Shi. Both of you are right. What do you all think? Chief Ning asked as he looked at the rest of them. This is a dilemma. Chief, you should make the decision. The overlord of Jian Clan Ancient Royal Family said with a smile. Right now, as spectators, they naturally did not want to get involved in this feud. For Emperor Shi and Thunder Punishing Skylord, to be willing to speak up on Yi Futian's behalf was probably because they had a good impression of Yi Futian. They thought highly of this junior figure. Hence, they would naturally lean more towards the Wangshan Watchtower side. In reality, it was indeed unfair for the two forces to target Wangshan Watchtower. If that is the case, there is no need for both sides to choose people of the same level. We can carry out a group law battle directly, Yi Futian said from below. That way, we do not need to have individual law battles one after another. If he was in a group battle, he was confident in dealing with middle-level Renhuangs. After all, aside from him, he also had a few powerful members. Zifeng's ability was also sufficient for her to stand alone. At the very least, she would not have a problem holding off Yin Dongyang for some time. The crowd looked at Yi Futian. This fellow was actually planning to proceed to the group battle? Since we are having a group battle, why don't we move on to the next stage? Lest the other forces cannot participate, and can only watch these three forces fight. A cultivator from the Nanhua clan said with a smile. The next stage naturally referred to the arrangement after the law battles. The crowd clearly understood this. Although the domain chief's manor chose some cultivators during this stage, the number of cultivators recruited was far from their target. The cultivators still needed to be tested on a large scale. The various forces could also participate in this. Chief Ning looked at the other party and then laughed and asked, aside from the Yin Kingdom and Wangshan Watchtower, does anyone else wish to challenge each other and seek the path individually? Since it has already been decided, just move on. A cultivator from the Desolate God Palace also said. Their interest in individual law battles had diminished. I have no objections, stated Sword Goddess of Divine Palace of Fluttering Snow. The others agreed one after another. When Chief Ning saw this scene, he nodded his head and said, if that is so, then we will end it here. As he said this, he glanced around at the crowd and continued. When the Donghua banquet began, I said that its purpose was to first have a drink with old friends. The second reason was to see the prominent figures of the Donghua domain. The third reason is that Domain Chief's manor is recruiting new blood. Now that the Donghua banquet has progressed to this stage, next, there will be a chance for everyone here to display their abilities. Those who perform outstandingly, if they are willing, may join Domain Chief's manor to cultivate. The Renhuangs in the Nine Heavens all lifted their heads and looked at Chief Ning. Next, there was an opportunity that everyone could have. As for whether or not they managed to seize it, it was up to the individual. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2044, Fuyao Secret Zone. Chapter 2044, Fuyao Secret Zone in Donghua Palace. Chief Ning saw that everyone was looking at him. He glanced over the crowd. He smiled and said, "Since everyone has no objections, we will proceed into the third stage then. The Fuyao secret zone of Domain Chief's Manor will now be open for all Renhuangs to venture into." Many people had speculated that this was the next stage, so they were not surprised. However, the Renhuangs in the Nine Heavens were still somewhat excited. The Fuyao secret zone was a cultivation secret zone that belonged solely to the Domain Chief's Manor. Normally, other cultivators would not be able to step foot in the zone. They would not even have the chance to catch a glimpse of it, let alone cultivate and train in the secret zone. Now, Domain Chief's Manor organized the Donghua banquet and opened up the Fuyao secret zone. For everyone, this was an extremely rare opportunity. Many Renhuangs had come here with the hopes of encountering this chance. Finally, the secret zone was going to be opened. The other giant figures in Donghua Palace did not say anything. They looked indifferently at the people down below. Ling Yunzi, the Lingxiao Palace Lord, said, "The Domain Chief has opened up the Fuyao secret zone and granted this opportunity to us cultivators of the Donghua domain. I hope that everyone can seize this opportunity and live up to the Chief's expectations." Chief Ning smiled as he nodded his head and said, "I hope so as well." "Are you all ready?" asked Chief Ning as he looked at the Renhuangs in the Nine Heavens. "If anyone does not wish to enter the secret zone, you can still opt out now." No one said anything. Who would turn down the chance to enter the secret zone of the Domain Chief's Manor? Although there was a certain amount of risk involved, as long as one was careful and did not go after things beyond their reach, it was still very safe. Even if they merely went in to take a look around and experience the place, it would still be a good opportunity. Having cultivated up to the Runhuang Plain, no one would mind having another fateful encounter. After waiting for a short while, seeing that no one had objections, Chief Ning said, "If that's the case, I will send you all to the entrance of the secret zone. We will wait for all of you at the exit. As long as you manage to find us, you will be qualified to cultivate in the Domain Chief's Manor, if that is what you decide, of course." "Yes, Chief," many people answered. Chief Ning remained sitting there as he said, "Let us begin then." As he said this, the Nine Heavens immediately began to tremble. The next moment, the people below felt the world spinning. The Nine Heavens above were actually moving. The stars shifted, and this part of the sky also moved. The people below witnessed them disappear. It seemed that they had entered the Domain Chief's Manor. The entire Nine Heavens seemed to have been teleported away. In the sky above, a misty aura enveloped Donghua Palace. The crowd saw that Donghua Palace also moving. Chief Ning looked down below at the cultivators and said, "Everyone, please enjoy your journey to the secret zone." As he said this, Donghua Palace also began to float in the sky. Yi Futian and the others were at the top of the Nine Heavens. They moved along with it and could see all the changes happening outside. There were many magnificent palaces. It was as though they were floating in an ancient and grand city. They were moving so fast that the stars appeared to shift in the sky. After a short while they came to a region with a lake. Beyond the lake appeared to be a realm of deities. The aura of deities emanated from beyond the lake, reaching up into the sky above. There was an ethereal celestial gate. It was as if the gate had always been erected there, eternal and untouched. "This is the gate that leads to the Fuyao secret zone. Once you pass through it, you will enter into the secret zone," an ethereal voice explained. The crowd could tell that this was Chief Ning's voice. "Ning Hua, you have entered the secret zone many times. This time, you will enter along with the others, but you will not participate. Ensure order within the secret zone," the voice continued saying. "Everyone here are Renhuangs from the Donghua domain. If a conflict arises, I hope that it will not go out of hand. In the Fuyao secret zone, I do not wish to see fights that result in deaths. Aside from that, there are dangers in the secret zone. Know your own strength. Even I cannot save you. I cannot see what happens in the secret zone." The crowd had solemn expressions. They knew what was in store. This time, the cultivators with weaker cultivation were being taken care of. No slaughter was to occur. That way, they would not be in too much danger. Otherwise, once conflicts arose in the secret zone, those with powerful cultivation would immediately initiate a massacre. "All right, You may enter, the voice continued. The crowd then saw a person heading into the zone first. A group of cultivators followed behind him. They were all cultivators from Domain Chief's manor. Their leader was Ninghua. This time, Ninghua also entered the Fuyao secret zone. However, he was not there to venture throughout the secret zone. He was mostly there to maintain order within. After passing through the gate, Ninghua's figure disappeared without a trace. The various cultivators who came walked up to the gate after witnessing this scene, passing through to enter into the Fuyao secret zone. Elder brother, what sort of place is the secret zone? Yi Futian asked Li Changsheng, who was beside him. The zone was inherited by the Domain Chief's manor many years ago. It is considered a cultivation holy land for the Domain Chief's manor. There are many fateful encounters of the Great Path inside. The cultivators who join the Domain Chief's manor to cultivate have the opportunity to enter into the zone to train. For outsiders, it is hard to come across such a chance. As for what it is like inside the secret zone, I also am not sure. After all, I have never gone inside myself. However, the Fuyao secret zone is an independent space. It is its own world. It will certainly be very large inside. Just like Eastern Deity Island. Yi Futian asked Goddess Donglai. It is impossible for Eastern Deity Island to be compared to the secret zone of Domain Chief's manor, Goddess Donglai replied. Yi Futian nodded his head. From the looks of it, this secret zone was even better than Eastern Deity Island. However, it might also be a completely different type of secret zone. You will know once you enter, Zongchan stated. The rest nodded their heads. Ren Huangyi, are you not going in? Someone nearby asked Yi Futian. Yi Futian raised his head and looked over in that direction. The person who had spoken was Qin Qing from Divine Palace of Fluttering Snow. Yi Futian smiled and replied, I was just about to do so. We will head in first, Qin Qing answered as she nodded her head slightly. The group from Divine Palace of Fluttering Snow floated towards the entrance. Behind Yi Futian's group, the cultivators of Ling Xiao Palace and Great Yin Ancient Royal Family had yet to enter. They seemed to be keeping an eye on Yi Futian's group. Clearly, they were prepared to continue the fight during the Donghua banquet left unfinished in the secret zone. Large groups of people entered the Fuyao secret zone. The aura emanating from the gate was extremely frightening. Yi Futian glanced at the gate. He was also curious about the Fuyao secret zone. What would this secret zone of Domain Chief's manor be like? What would they find inside? Let's go, Li Changsheng said. The group from Wangshan Watchtower immediately headed towards the entrance to the secret zone together. The large army entered the zone. The cultivators from various forces also gradually made their way in. There were fewer and fewer people in this area. After Yi Futian's group passed through the gate, they felt an intense aura of the great path of space. The next moment, they immediately appeared in another world. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2045, Demon Mountain. Chapter 2045, Demon Mountain. Yi Futian looked ahead. There was a large lake. Beyond the lake, there was an endless mountain range. The end of the mountain range was nowhere in sight. As expected, it was a world of its own. Yi Futian thought to himself. This was the Fuyao secret zone of Domain Chief's manor. The vast army entered the zone. They were all Renhuangs. Compared to the lineup that entered Eastern Deity Island last time, this group was far more powerful. The group that entered Eastern Deity Island last time did not have top-level Renhuangs. This time, many of them were 8th tier and 9th tier Renhuangs. They even had figures such as Jiang Yueli from Divine Palace of Fluttering Snow among them. Jiang Yueli was an 8th tier Renhuang with a flawless great path. Her combat ability was almost at the peak of the Renhuang plane. Aside from the giant-level figures, it was difficult for anyone else to stand against her. At that moment, silhouettes traversed across the sky and advanced on the surface of the lake. Even though there were fateful encounters in the secret zone, the Renhuangs would certainly not easily come across them. Hence, they did not need to be in such a hurry. Let's go, said Li Changxing as he also eyed the cultivators of the Wangshan watchtower forward. The vast army of Renhuangs scattered beyond the lake. Some of them traveled through the air, while others moved on the ground. Their speeds were different, so the cultivators, naturally, got separated. However, Yi Futian felt that he was constantly being watched. He did not need to investigate to know who was watching him. The cultivators of the great Yin ancient royal family and Lingxiao Palace had wanted to kill him. Now that they had entered into this zone, they would not easily let him escape them. These two major forces also showed signs of having joined forces to target Wangshan watchtower. It was possible that they were not just targeting him, but the entire Wangshan watchtower. The lake was calm and peaceful. Everyone had just passed over it. Nothing had happened. Yi Futian's group passed over the lake and stood in the region of the desolate mountain range. Yi Futian gazed far into the distance. Even when he released his will, he still could not make out the ends of the mountain range. His will could only cover a part of it. The mountain range gave off a desolate and ancient air. It was as though this secret zone had existed since the distant past. Many Renhuangs had serious expressions. They did not dare to lower their guard. Since they were in a secret zone, it would not be an ordinary place. As the Renhuangs entered the mountain range, they headed out in different directions like fish in the ocean. Yi Futian's group kept heading forward. This ancient secret zone had an ominous aura that gave off a faint pressure. As they continued to advance, someone discovered an extremely frightening scene to the left of the mountain range. There was a desolate world over there. Endless purple lightning could faintly be seen. The terrifying might of the great path of destruction emanated from there. Those present did not know what sort of place that was. However, many Renhuangs headed in that direction. Many cultivators from the desolate god palace stopped in their tracks and glanced over there. Desolation said, "Let's go take a look." As he said this, his group headed over to the region. When they saw that the cultivators of the desolate god palace were heading over, many other cultivators backed down. The abilities of those from Desolate God Palace were too powerful. If there were a fateful encounter there, the other cultivators would have no means of contending with Desolate God Palace. They might as well give up and search other places. Yi Futian's group also saw the region. However, they did not head over, instead continuing to press on. After a short while they saw a horrifying scene to their right. The temperature there was surprisingly high. There was intense heat emanating from the area. As they glanced over from afar, they actually saw that the mountain peaks were scorched red. On the mountainsides, terrifying magma was flowing. The mountains in the region were all crimson. No one knew what sort of flame treasures were hidden there. However, after they passed through this region, they discovered a world of ice and snow that was extremely cold. The world of ice and snow and the world of flames were next to each other. They formed their own individual spaces. The world of ice and snow was very chilly. However, Yi Futian and the others ignored both spaces and continued advancing. Ahead of them, there was a jet-black mountain in their way. The ancient jet-black mountain was shrouded in darkness. It gave off a mysterious vibe. One could sense the oppressive aura emanating from the mountain from extremely far away. "What is that place?" someone asked in a low voice. Yi Futian revealed a strange look and said, "Elder brother, why is it that I sense that this space is sealed off? I feel as though a continent was sealed off and became the secret zone of Domain Chief's manor." Li Changxing replied, "The secret zone of the Domain Chief's manor is not limited to one area. The Fuyao secret zone is just one of the many secret zones. However, your guess may be correct. The Domain Chief is proficient in the great path of sealing. There is also an absolute treasure in the Domain Chief's manor. Indeed, it might be possible that this secret zone is a sealed-off space." They were heading to a place up ahead that was near to the Black Mountain Range. As they gradually approached the Black Mountain Range, they could sense an even more ominous aura coming from its direction. Bang! At that moment, they heard a terrifying explosion from far away. A scream followed it. The crowd saw a Renhuang flying backward. He was sent flying out from the mountain range. Fresh blood splattered around in the sky as he fell to the ground. What happened? The figures headed over. Many people came up beside the injured Renhuang. They saw that his flesh had been torn off his body. It was a gruesome sight to behold. Demonic beasts, thought the crowd as they glanced over at the ancient Black Mountain. Yi Futian's group looked over there from a distance. Yi Futian commented, "Such powerful demonic qi." "There are many demonic beasts," said Zifeng, who was beside him. She was a phoenix demon, and was naturally very sensitive to demonic qi. She could sense that there were many demonic beasts in the mountain up ahead. Yi Futian revealed a pondering look. This place seemed more and more like a sealed space. It was as though a continent had been sealed away. After all, to harm the cultivators in the secret zone, it would take a demon emperor. Even if such a demon were to assume human form and leave this place, their standing would not be low. The vast mountain range was formed from countless connected black mountains. It stretched across the land, seemingly sealing off the way ahead. If they wanted to continue forwards, they had to pass through the Black Mountain range. At that moment, there was the sound of a violent collision. The crowd raised their heads and looked up at the sky above the mountain range. A huge, terrifying beast appeared there. Its wings blocked out the sky when fully spread. They could not make out what sort of demon it was. They only saw a gigantic pair of black wings sweep out, directly sweeping away the renhuangs who were attempting to fly over the mountain range. A renhuang, who was not strong enough, was immediately torn to shreds, and they perished on the spot. This caused the hearts of many to tremble uncontrollably. Frightening dangers were lurking in the Fuyao secret zone. This journey was not as easy as they imagined it to be. You cannot pass over the mountain range. It would help if you went through it, a silhouette said from the sky above. The person who had spoken was Ning Hua. As he said this, he traversed the sky and immediately entered the Black Mountain range from above. Once he entered, a terrifying aura emerged and enveloped the endless space. A voice said in a cold tone, "You have come again." "Long time no see," Ning Hua replied. He then kept advancing, heading deep into the mountain range from the sky. Very soon, the terrifying sound of violent collisions of the great path could be heard. It caused the hearts of the crowd to beat even faster. As expected of Ning Hua, a cultivator said in a low voice. He told them that they could not pass over the mountain range from above, yet he had immediately done so, not fearing the demons within the mountain range. Ning Hua already treated this place as his training ground. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Let's go! Let's go! The various cultivators gradually entered into the Black Mountains. No one directly made their way in from above like Ning Hua. After all, they were not Ning Hua. They did not have his abilities, and were not as familiar as he was with the Fuyao secret zone. For Ning Hua, this secret zone was merely his training ground. "Let us also enter," Li Changxing said. The group immediately nodded their heads and headed deep into the ancient mountains. Yi Futian's group entered the mountain range. The precipitous peaks pierced straight through the clouds. Far away, the valleys were so deep that they could not see the bottom. They could faintly hear a droning sound. There was also a powerful demonic qi around them. They expanded their wills, but soon discovered that their wills were blocked off in many places. It was as though there was a natural shroud that blocked off their wills. Up ahead, in all directions, there were people also moving forward along the mountainside. From time to time, the shadow of a demonic beast would pass by. Yet, so as not to disturb the more powerful demonic beasts within the mountain, the crowd left these demonic beasts alone. After all, this was unknown territory for them. No one knew what sort of dangers they would encounter. As time passed, the renhuangs ventured deeper into the range. However, they still had not reached the end. They appeared to have reached the inner parts of the Black Mountain range. The space above them was completely blocked off. It was filled with a mysterious aura. It seemed as though they would never be able to get out. Of course, they were not moving very fast. This area was too mysterious. In the secret zone, they also did not dare to be careless. At that moment, silhouettes flashed ahead. Many people looked over in that direction. A group of figures appeared in different positions. Each of these figures had a terrifying aura. Demonic chi circled around them. They were all demon emperors. They quietly stood there, not saying a word. They merely watched the various cultivators. At that moment, another silhouette descended from the sky. It was a youth dressed in a fur coat. His skin was smooth and fair, and he appeared very handsome. He had a deep gaze that seemed to contain a bizarre light, as he swept a glance across the crowd. There are so many demon emperors in the secret zone. Futian wondered. This might only be a portion of their numbers. There might be even more demons hidden away in this endless black mountain range. Had they been sealed away in this secret zone? Leave now, a demonic beast ordered. He was actually chasing the crowd away. This caused many cultivators to reveal strange looks. However, although the Renhuangs were not happy about this, they still dashed forward on their own. They did not want to cause trouble. The secret zone was becoming more and more mysterious. It seemed to contain some secrets. Futian glanced over at these demonic beasts. He wanted to capture one of them to interrogate them about the situation in this place. However, it was not convenient to do so. If he angered the other party, it would bring him no benefit in this mountain range. They continued along the path carved out of the mountainside. Their steps were light, and they progressed at a rapid pace. Not long after they left, the demonic beasts left in another direction. Did they appear just to hasten us on our way? A Renhuang asked in a low voice, unable to make head or tail about the situation. As they advanced, they saw the figures of demonic beast flash past again, leaving behind afterimages. They kept passing by the cultivators. Aside from demon emperors, there were also many demon saints with less powerful cultivation. This caused many people to reveal bizarre expressions. This seemed to be a mountain range of demonic beasts. As more and more demonic beasts passed by the cultivators, many people realized that something was off. What is going on? Someone turned around and asked the person beside them. They seem to be hurrying towards the same place, someone replied. Many Renhuangs glanced over at the demonic beasts passing by. Cold looks flashed past in their eyes. They intended to attack, wanting to capture a demonic beast for interrogation. For now, these demonic beasts seem to be completely ignoring us and allowing us to pass unobstructed. It might be that they have no time to care about us. Something might have happened, Li Changxing deduced softly. Many people nodded in agreement. Futian turned around and looked behind him. He saw that little condor had quietly left the area where the group was and had headed into the mountain range. Not long after, he saw little condor's silhouette appear in another area. He had mingled into a group of demonic beasts and was moving with them. His figure flashed forwards as he sought out his prey. Very soon, he saw a female demon with long horns on her head. He ordered, "Stop right there." The female demon was pretty good looking. She was a Baizé and was a demon saint. She turned around and asked Black Wind Condor, "Senior, how may I help you? I have just emerged from cultivating in seclusion. Where are all of you headed?" Black Wind Condor asked. Demonic chi circled around his body. "There is a disturbance in Demon God Temple," the female demon explained. "I need to make haste. Senior, do you want to head over together?" She was not afraid of Black Wind Condor's demonic might. In this zone, the Baizé demon clan was also very powerful. She did not mind his presence. "You may go on ahead," Black Wind Condor said expressionlessly. However, his eyes revealed a strange light as he transmitted this information to Futian. Where Futian was, he looked at the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower after he received this information. He then said to Li Changxing and Zhong Chan over transmitted thoughts, "Elder brothers, my demonic beast companion has just gotten information on the situation. There is actually a demon god temple in this mountain range of demonic beasts. The demonic beasts are on the move because there is a disturbance in Demon God Temple." This caused Li Changxing and Zhong Chan to reveal strange looks. There was actually a Demon God Temple in the secret zone. Could it be that the Demon God Temple was the ruins of a demon god? If that was so, this secret zone was indeed frightening. Within this mountain range, there was more than one clan of demonic beasts. They were all sealed within this space. Buzz. At that moment, a silhouette flashed and appeared among the crowd. The figure said, "I have just caught a demonic beast." There is a demon god temple in the mountain range. Shall we go over and take a look? As he said this, all the renhuangs in the area looked over at the figure who had spoken. Yi Futian also looked over in that direction. He recognized this person. This person had challenged him on the law battle platform. He was very powerful and was proficient in the Sword of Light. It was Chen Yi. Is this true? Someone asked. Of course, why would I lie? My cultivation is not high enough to handle the situation. Otherwise, I would not have shared this information with everyone, Chen Yi said with a smile. The crowd immediately believed what he had said. Although Chen Yi was powerful, after seeing the demon emperors in the mountain range, he would have surely perished if he had gone off alone. There was no chance of him making it out alive. He could only tell the others of this news. Are we going? Someone asked. This might be a matter of life or death. After all, the demonic beasts moved in groups, and there were many powerful demons. Once the battle began, there might be casualties. Dong! Suddenly, the crowd felt their hearts throb. Everyone's gazes turned sharp as they looked far off into the distance, in the direction where the demonic beasts were headed. Dong! Dong! The sensation grew more and more intense. The crowd felt their hearts beating even faster. They were about to face trouble. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2047, Marked. Chapter 2047, Marked. Should they go? In different locations, many cultivators glanced at each other. Many of them were conversing via transmitted thoughts. You are all among the upper echelons of the Donghua domain. What is there to hesitate about? Asked Chen Yi as he looked at the crowd. His tone seemed to carry a different kind of aura. Many top figures nodded their heads slightly. It was not that they did not have such boldness, but that they were concerned about the junior renhuangs beside them who had weaker cultivation. Let's go take a look, someone said. All right. Everyone, let's head over together. We can also look out for each other. If we encounter enemies that we cannot defeat, proceed with caution, someone responded. In different areas, the various cultivators came to a consensus. They then set off in the same direction the demonic beasts were headed. As they followed the demonic beasts deeper into the mountain range, the violent throbbing sound could still be heard. It caused their hearts to beat uncontrollably. Even if they did not follow the demonic beasts, they could still locate the demon god temple based on this beat. When they noticed the movements of the cultivators, the demonic beasts who passed by swept cold glances at them. They seemed to look at the cultivators with disdain. Were these human cultivators also heading to the demon god temple? As they advanced, the various cultivators gradually sensed a huge pressure acting on them. They could faintly sense that a terrifying demonic might was descending upon them. Their hearts throbbed nonstop. Even their blood vessels were pulsating. This caused them to slow down in their tracks. They were worried that accidents would happen. They could slowly see frightening currents flowing around their bodies, being drawn into the distance. It was like a dragon gulping down a river. The currents of the great path were being sucked up into the distance. Over there. As they looked in the direction where the currents flowed towards, the crowd saw an illusory black temple. This black temple was frenziedly consuming the currents of the great path. Demonic chi circled around it, and it was filled with a mysterious aura. The throbbing beat came from inside the temple. It caused the hearts of the people to beat uncontrollably. At the foot of the black temple, across different areas, there were many demon emperors gathered. They were all looking at the huge demon god temple with stern expressions. Behind Yi Futian, some renhuangs had come to a stop. It was difficult for them to continue. The terrifying throbbing could kill them silently. If the cultivators continued advancing, even when they had reached their limits, they would most likely die from the shock. Among the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower, Beigong Shuang's footsteps were heavy. She said, I cannot go on much further. It was not just her. A few renhuangs from the Wangshan Watchtower also felt the same. The demon emperors are in different locations. The demonic beasts have more vigor, so they can withstand this power better than we can, Yi Futian said in a low voice. The group nodded in agreement. Demonic beasts indeed have extremely vigorous life force. Of course, Many renhuangs with powerful cultivation could still push on. They were not as severely affected. Li Changxing and Zhong Chan did not have any serious reactions to the power acting on them. Although their hearts throbbed and demonic qi also churned non-stop, their gazes were calm and unperturbed. Up ahead, a powerful demon swept a glance at the approaching crowd of humans. One of the demon emperors glanced over at other locations. In a cold tone he said, "These humans have come to check on the commotion. What should we do about them?" The other powerful demons looked in different directions. These demonic beasts seemed to be divided into different camps. There was a clear distinction between the groups. They clearly belonged to different clans. "Let's settle them off first," a powerful demon said. His tone was cold and indifferent, and contained murderous intent. "We are merely here to take a look around. Why do we need to?" A renhuang tried to reason with the demons. As he said this, he felt demonic qi surging towards him. It did not allow him to finish speaking. A demon emperor directly descended upon him like a shadow. Bang! There was a loud collision when their two figures came in contact. Before this, the renhuang who had spoken had extended his hand. Bloodstains could be seen. His palm had been ripped apart. These demonic beasts were actually attacking them straight up. Many people thought to themselves. Although there were many demonic beasts in the Dark Mountain Range, there were also a large number of renhuangs who had entered here. Many of them were from top forces. It was not easy for the demonic beasts to deal with them. "I will deal with them. Settle those people first," said the handsome youth in the fur coat that Yi Futian's group encountered before this. He said this as he pointed in the direction of the members of Wangshan Watchtower. A powerful demon floated towards Yi Futian's group. The strangely handsome youth swept a glance towards them. He said, "Before this, I recall warning all of you. This place is so big. Surely we are not disturbing anyone by coming here to take a look around?" Li Changxing replied as he smiled back at the other party. He could sense that this handsome youth was a threat. This demon emperor seemed to appear younger and more handsome the older he got. He was certainly a super powerful demon that had cultivated for eons. He changed his form to appear youthful, but in reality, he was an old monster. The demonic qi around them was frightening. Formless currents tore apart the space. The handsome youth swept towards the cultivators of the Wangshan Watchtower. He stepped out, and his figure disappeared without a trace the next moment. Buzz! His figure left behind afterimages. Li Changxing sensed the danger and sent a palm strike flying out immediately. His palm strike seemed soft and gentle, yet even the space was twisted and vibrated under its force. Their two palms collided in an instant. The currents of the great path around them contorted frenziedly. What was even more terrifying was that an astonishing, consuming power suddenly burst forth in the vast space. It seemed to consume everything around them. A terrifying shadow appeared behind the handsome youth. Darkness descended, and rumbling sounds could be heard. Li Changxing felt the aura of the great path in his body flow towards his opponent's palm uncontrollably. It was not just him. The auras of the great path of various cultivators behind him seemed to be sucked in by the consuming current. For a moment, there was an intense rumbling noise throughout the mountain range. The peaks trembled, and it seemed as though the heavens and earth were falling apart. "Stand down," said a silhouette as he walked forward. It was Zhong Chan. Divine tablets appeared around his body. They blocked in front of him, lessening the effects of the intense, consuming power on the cultivators behind him. Rumble! The handsome demon emperor stepped onto the ground. The vast space seemed to be immediately consumed by him. Yi Futian and the others retreated backward. At the same time, demon emperors attacked from other directions. In an instant, a large-scale battle erupted in the space. Yi Futian and the group retreated. They saw gales ravaging their surroundings. Terrifying, powerful demons blocked out the sun in the sky. They charged towards the cultivators, intending to consume them. Zhong Chan's figure shot up into the sky. Many powerful renhuangs began to attack. They never imagined that the demon emperors in the mountain range would attack so decisively. Yi Futian's group retreated into the mountain range. "Let's go after him." Far off in other directions, the cultivators of two forces began to move. They were the cultivators of the great Yin ancient royal family, and the Renhuangs of Lingxiao Palace. They had long marked Yi Futian. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2048. Murderous Intent. Chapter 2048. Murderous Intent. The mountain range instantly descended into chaos. The cultivators from various forces were attacked by the demonic beasts one after another. Furthermore, the Renhuangs who came from the outside world were not united. For instance, as the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower were retreating from the attacks of the demonic beasts, not only did Great Yin Ancient Royal Family and Lingxiao Palace not help them out, but they instead targeted Yi Futian's group. Their figures also chased after Yi Futian's group in a flash, as though they might attack them at any time. "Let's go," suggested Goddess Donglai as she led the cultivators in retreating. When she saw that the situation was off, they retreated toward the mountains. From another direction, another group of people passed by. They were the cultivators of Divine Palace of Fluttering Snow. When they saw this situation, they revealed strange expressions. What were these demonic beasts doing? Jiang Yueli glanced at the battlefield, and then looked ahead. She continued forward, advancing further ahead. The cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower kept retreating backward. They unknowingly ended up in a valley region. Behind them, they were blocked off by a huge black mountain. The demon emperors charging towards them swept a glance at the various cultivators. They then immediately turned and left, returning to where they were before. This caused the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower to reveal bizarre looks. Were they leaving just like that? However, right then the cultivators of two forces walked out. They were the cultivators from the Great Yin Ancient Royal Family, as well as Lingxiao Palace, who had been targeting Yi Futian's group. When she saw this scene, Goddess Donglai's gaze turned extremely cold. She seemed to have thought of something. Why were these two forces targeting the Wangshan Watchtower, as well as Yi Futian? Even if Great Yin Ancient Royal Family had its reason, why was Lingxiao Palace also doing so? Was it just because Yi Futian won against Ling He and disgraced him? This reason seemed insufficient. Unless there was another reason behind it. What are your intentions for doing this? Zhongchan said as he looked at the crowd of cultivators. Li Changxing was not here, so he was naturally in charge. He also had the strongest ability among the group. They were attacked by demon emperors, and these two forces were eyeing them as well. To protect the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower, they had retreated again and again. Now the demon emperors had left, but these two forces seemed to show murderous intent. Before this, I have always wanted to experience the ability of the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower myself. Unfortunately, I never got the opportunity to do so. Now that there is no one to disturb us here in the secret zone, I cannot think of a better opportunity, said Yan Hanxing, the prince of Great Yin Ancient Royal Family. He stepped forward and walked over to Zhongchan. His 9th-tier Renhuang aura was terrifying. The winds and clouds in the sky above shifted. Frighteningly huge divine dragons appeared. A shadow of a huge dragon also appeared behind him. Dragon cries filled the skies. The song of the young dragon radiated outwards, tearing apart the land with its roar. Sound waves of the great path swept out. Zhongchan took a step forward. Divine tablets of the great path burst forth, suppressing everything. The power of the sound waves were mostly blocked off by the divine tablets. However, the terrifying sound vibrations still shook the people behind him. Many people groaned, and their faces turned pale. They felt as though their spiritual souls were about to be shattered. Some Renhuangs were immediately sent flying backward, coughing up mouthfuls of fresh blood. Beigong Shuang also felt very uncomfortable. Blood oozed from the corners of her mouth. Her face was as pale as a sheet. Xia Qingyuan also let out a dull groan. Rumble. Zhongchan stepped forward, and countless divine tablets appeared around them. They hung from the heavens and were everywhere. He swept a glance at his opponent, and formed seals with both his hands. The divine tablets immediately descended from the heavens, and suppressed this part of the sky. Yan Hanxing had a serious expression. The cultivators also raised their heads, and looked up into the sky. This attack seemed to be everywhere, suppressing this part of the sky and attacking all the cultivators at once. The divine dragon protected Yan Hanxing's body. However, many cultivators behind him were not so lucky. Their figures were instantly sent flying. At that moment, a figure with extraordinary temperament emerged from among the cultivators of Lingxiao Palace. The figure had 9th tier cultivation. A gigantic Lingxiao pagoda appeared and floated in the sky. Endless golden divine light descended upon them, sweeping towards the various cultivators. When she saw this scene, Goddess Donglai took a step forward. Her figure became that of a towering divine tree. Its endless branches spread outwards and covered the sky and the sun. It protected all of the cultivators beneath it. All of you step back, Goddess Donglai ordered. The lineup of the two major forces was far stronger than they were. If a group battle were to erupt here, the cultivators of Wangshan Watchtower would surely be at a disadvantage. Uncle Beigong Zifeng, help me take care of Qingyuan, Yi Futian said to Beigong Ao and Zifeng via transmitted thoughts. With a flash of his silhouette, he then headed over in one direction alone. He sensed that many of their opponents were targeting him. His death was the greatest wish of Ling He, Yin Dongyang, and many other cultivators. Hence, he decided to draw their attention away from the others. As he said this, his silhouette flashed, and he headed to one side. There was a huge rumble, and a landslide occurred. He immediately tunneled through the ancient Black Mountain. As expected, when they saw Yi Futian leaving, many people gave pursuit. There were actually more than a dozen Renhuangs, heading in Yi Futian's direction. This made it clear how high a priority Yi Futian was for the two major forces. The deep Black Mountain was frenziedly collapsing and being destroyed. Yi Futian kept advancing at an astonishing speed. Beigong Ao had 8th tier cultivation and had the Cloudwood. Zifeng had a flawless great path and very powerful combat ability. They should be able to fend for themselves. Yi Futian drew many cultivators along with him when he went off on his own. This included powerful 8th tier Renhuangs. This way, they could even out the pressure on the battlefield. After a short while, Yi Futian traversed some distance through the mountain range. He came to a place surrounded by ancient black peaks. With a loud rumble, Yi Futian's figure collided with a terrifying, gigantic black mountain. He actually did not manage to bore through it. This gigantic black mountain was like a divine mountain. A mysterious aura radiated from it. It forcefully knocked Yi Futian back. Dozens of Renhuangs chased after Yi Futian, rushing up to pressure him. They stood at different positions, gradually surrounding Yi Futian in this huge space. Yin Dongyang and Ling He were both here. Their eyes flared up with murderous intent. No matter how outstanding Yi Futian's talent was, he needed to die. He was the inheritor of Supreme Deity Donglai's teachings, and also joined the Wangshan Watchtower to cultivate. He actually still dared to display such talents. There was no reason for him to live. Ling He extended his palm, and a divine tower flew out from his hand. It flew up into the sky, and then grew larger and larger. It floated high in the sky and became a gigantic divine tower. The direct descendants of Lingxiao Palace possessed the Lingxiao Pagoda life spirit. This treasure was concocted from it. As the tower floated in the sky, frightening golden currents descended from it. The might of the great path also pressed down and completely sealed off the space. Golden currents covered the vast space, seemingly blocking out the sky and the sun. Yi Futian raised his head and glanced around. When he sensed the might of the great path, his gaze turned cold and indifferent. Were they separating the space off so that it was more convenient for them to kill him? Are all of you going to ignore the words of Chief Ning? Yi Futian asked in a cold tone. Were these two major forces ignoring the rules established by the overseer of the Donghua domain? The crowd looked at him with mocking looks. It was as though they were looking at a dead person. Ling He laughed and said, "If you die to the demonic beasts in the mountain range, what does that have to do with us? If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2049, Not Enough. Chapter 2049, Not Enough. Yi Futian looked at Ling He. The other party did not shy away from admitting that they wanted him to die here. It was not just that. These people would certainly not hold back against the cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower. They truly came with murderous intent. Were Great Yan ancient royal family and Lingxiao Palace really going to act so presumptuous after joining forces? In the heavens above, the tower floated in the sky. The dazzling shadow of the tower loomed over this part of the sky and suppressed it. It caused this part of the space to feel exceptionally heavy. Flowing lights of the Great Path immediately charged towards Futian. Futian's will shifted, and a brilliant divine sword instantly appeared before him. This divine sword contained terrifying sword will as it went against the flow of light. It hovered above Futian's head. The currents of swordsmanship and the light of the tower collided, letting out an ear-piercing sound. "Attack," ordered Linghe. His gaze was filled with intense murderous intent. He immediately gave the order for his subordinates to kill Futian. As he gave the order, an 8th-tier Renhuang from Lingxiao Palace attacked. The 8th-tier cultivator took a step forward. A long golden spear in his hand released brilliant divine light that directly pierced the sky. Buzz! The frightening Lingxi spear was astonishing. The spear was extremely fast, penetrating the very fabric of space. Futian's reaction time was also rapid, as he dodged it instantly. The spear swept past his figure. Before Futian could react again, another spear descended. The spear chased after its own shadow as the Lingxi spear seemed to merge with the Great Path. Futian felt the space in front of him being torn apart and shattered. The power of the Great Path was pierced through. A long spear similarly appeared in Futian's hand. Frightening battle intent circled it. Without any hesitation, he stabbed his spear straight out in front of him. He could not keep evading his opponent's spear techniques. He could only counter with his own attacks. The two long spears clashed. Futian's figure was immediately sent flying from the shockwave. Even though he had a flawless Great Path, he was still just a 4th-tier Renhuang. He was facing an 8th-tier Renhuang, and one from Lingxiao Palace who was proficient in Lingxi spear techniques. Purely in terms of spear techniques, he was already at a disadvantage. The 8th-tier cultivator did not continue to attack, instead looking at Futian with a serious expression. This person was actually also proficient in spear techniques? Frightening battle intent emanated from the long spear in Futian's hand. This battle intent circled and surged into his body. It caused Futian's battle intent to burst forth. His will was mighty. It was as though a spear god had possessed him. The will of the Great Path surrounded the body of the 8th-tier cultivator. He stood there, becoming one with his spear. He gave off an ethereal vibe, and had an extraordinary temperament. Futian stared at the other party. A divine tree seemed to appear in his body. Currents of the Great Path emanated outwards. The vast space seemed to be enveloped by these currents. At the same time, vigorous life force radiated from Futian's body. It caused his will and energy to reach their utmost limits. His battle intent seemed to burst forth from his body. On top of that, a frightening domain of the Great Path appeared behind him. The stars circled him, and countless stone tablets seemed to appear. There were runes carved on each tablet. Divine light of the Great Path shone, and the Buddhist voice of the Great Path could faintly be heard chanting the Vajra demon-slaying rhythm. The next moment, currents of the Great Path appeared above Futian's head. They consumed the power in the surroundings. A yin-yang diagram of the Great Path was created. This yin-yang diagram seemed to be connected to the divine tree, perfectly merging with it. Half of the diagram was as hot as the scorching sun, the other half as cold as the moon. The power of yin radiated from it. Sword light of catastrophe hung above. This space became extremely frightening. It caused even the 8th-tier cultivator to feel pressured. Right now Futian seemed very powerful to him. Even more powerful aura emanated from the Renhuang's figure. He merely stood there, but frightening currents of the Great Path emanated outwards. Countless shadows split from his figure. Each shadow contained a terrifying aura. They charged towards Futian. For a moment, the will of their spears was astonishing. The countless shadows advanced, appearing in different locations. They appeared to be everywhere. The next moment, the figure of the 8th-tier Renhuang moved. He disappeared from his original position. Futian could not see where he had disappeared to. Buzz! In the heavens above, the yin-yang diagram released terrifying lights of catastrophe. They swept out across the space. At the same time, Yi Futian stabbed out with his spear. The astonishing will of the spear radiated out, seemingly able to pierce the space. Bang! There was a loud sound, and a shadow appeared before Yi Futian. The two spears clashed straight into each other. The shadow revealed a strange look, appearing to be caught off guard by this. Yi Futian had actually pinpointed his position without fail. Not only that, but the Renhuang also felt that within this domain of the Great Path, his way was being restricted. For instance, the chill caused his movements to be slowed down. The body of the 8th tier Renhuang disappeared without a trace, as though it was but one of his shadows. The next moment, another shadow suddenly emerged, and another frightening spear stabbed out to kill Yi Futian. Its speed was so fast that Yi Futian could not react to it. The stone tablets directly flew over. With loud rumbles, they frenziedly exploded and turned to dust. The light of catastrophe directly pierced the space. When Yi Futian's spear appeared again, it landed straight on the tip of the Renhuang's spear. It was as though Yi Futian could completely read his every movement. However, the powerful attack still caused the great path around Yi Futian's body to crumble. His figure was sent flying outward. Next, countless spears continuously appeared in different locations. Each spear was like the brush of a deity. However, each spear was actually blocked by Yi Futian. Each time Yi Futian was sent flying, the Renhuang felt that Yi Futian would certainly be unable to withstand the next spear. Yet he discovered that there was always another spear that Yi Futian could block. What was even more frightening was that he discovered this place had become Yi Futian's domain of the Great Path. The chill grew more and more intense, already beginning to invade his body and affect his speed. The light of catastrophe that descended from the sky also kept destroying his shadows. Not only was Yi Futian not defeated, but the Renhuang instead was being gradually restricted. Something is off. The others also began to realize this. Currents of the Great Path also appeared around them. The currents were everywhere. The vast space seemed to be affected by Yi Futian's currents of the Great Path. It appeared to have become his own domain of the Great Path. Do not dawdle any longer. Kill him, ordered Yin Dongyang as a cold look flashed past in his eyes. This time, their lineup was extremely powerful. They had 8 8th-tier Renhuangs alone. Yin Dongyang and Ling, he were considered the ones with the weakest cultivation among their lineup. Against such odds, it was difficult for Yi Futian to escape them. No matter how talented he was, he would certainly perish. The others answered as they nodded their heads. They stepped forward, and immediately, astonishing auras of the Great Path burst forth from different directions simultaneously, sweeping towards Yi Futian. At the same time, the yin-yang diagram in the sky above consumed the power of the Great Path around them. The light of catastrophe that descended in the form of swords. Everywhere they landed, everything was destroyed. Yin Dongyang and Ling He were similarly in the attack range. They frowned as they glared at Yi Futian. Yi Futian wielded the long spear in his hand. He stood against them alone. As he swept a glance towards them, he said, "With these people, it is still not enough. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2050, The Slaughter. Chapter 2050, The Slaughter. Yin Dongyang and Ling He frowned. All of them were not enough. Be careful, someone reminded them. The yin-yang pattern that floated above their heads felt extremely dangerous. Psst! There was a sharp and terrifying sound. The destructive current of the Great Path from the yin-yang pattern attacked downward, keeping everyone in its grip. Yin Dongyang and Ling He were also caught up in the attack. Having felt that terrifying current of destruction, both of them released the divine wheel of Great Path. At the same time, there were also divine items that were blooming with brilliant radiance. Yin Dongyang seemed to be wrapped up in the form of the true dragon, as a gigantic shadow of the dragon appeared. The falling currents of destruction were attacking it, making terrible sounds. Yin Dongyang found that the shadow of the dragon could not resist the coming attacks. An armor of golden dragon scale gradually attached itself to his body, which made him appear fierce and terrifying. His eyes were frightening to behold. When he first fought Futian at Wangshan Watchtower, he didn't have an accurate sense of his power. It wasn't until much later that he realized Futian had been hiding his true strength all along. Now he knew clearly that he and Futian were hardly at the same level, and that his opponent's combat effectiveness was at a totally different realm. Ling He fared no better, as he was busy fighting off the destructive currents of swordsmanship that fell from the void. By this time, other cultivators were taking actions as well. The 3 cultivators of the 8th realm unleashed the terrible power of the Great Path at the same time. Thousands of spear shadows appeared, and countless afterimages appeared in this part of the space. Lingxi's spear bloomed once again, and penetrated the void in a single strike. In another direction, a Lingxiao pagoda appeared on the mountain top above Futian's head. It was the divine wheel of Great Path from one of the cultivators of the 8th realm. The light of the divine wheel came crashing down. It flattened everything in its path, and kept Futian in place. Behind Futian, a sacred giant dragon appeared, and the roar from the song of the young dragon shattered mountains and rivers. The sky and earth seemed to come apart as waves of sonic attacks swept through the area, directly attacking the spiritual soul. The sharp claws of the massive true dragon slammed down and torn apart that corner of the sky. Futian was attacked at the same time by 3 powerful cultivators of the 8th realm. That space of the Great Path was about to burst and shatter. There was simply no room to hide. Yen Dongyang and Ling He stared in that direction. Could Futian survive such a choreographed attack? The storm of destruction came with a vengeance. Both the spiritual soul and the physical body were crushed by the terrifying Great Path. It seemed completely unstoppable. The starry storm that surrounded Futian was broken up and destroyed. Although the attack of the swordsmanship was quite strong, it could not affect the blow from the opposing 3 cultivators. Life and death were only in a matter of instant. At this moment, an extreme chill swept out and shut down the space with ice. This slowed down all 3 cultivators' attack speed, and time seemed to come to a stop. At the same time, a terrifying sacred radiance bloomed from Futian. This sacred radiance contained the might of the Great Path, which melded into Futian's body, as well as his fighting will. All 3 cultivators of the 8th realm felt a supreme pressure of might, as if this coercion was coming from an even higher level of existence. This moment seemed endless. Their attack could have arrived in an instant, but everything seemed to have slowed down. The attack that could have accomplished in an instant was delayed, and did not fall as expected. However, they saw the divine light that lingered upon Futian. The fighting will of the long spear swept out, and destroyed all power of the Great Path. Futian's body moved, and man and spear became one. When the spear was piercing forward, that cultivator of the 8th realm from Lingxiao Palace only felt that the Great Path madly collapsing and shattering. It seemed that it was not Futian he was facing, but some descendant of the gods who would not be denied. As the shadow of the spear passed through, the crowd saw countless golden fragments appeared in the wake of the spear, and that everything had turned into dust. Time seemed to stand still, and all the cultivators looked at that cultivator of the 8th realm from Lingxiao Palace. He stood there motionless, with golden divine light surrounding his body, like a statue. In the next moment, that statue-like figure shattered into nothingness, turned into a cloud of golden dust and disappeared. A cultivator of the 8th realm, obliterated just like that. Everyone else's face changed when they witnessed what had taken place. Not only that, but they also saw a magnificent imperial glory emitted from Futian's body. It shot straight into the heavens. The imperial glory had been integrated into the fighting will of the spear, and made that fighting will a reality, materialized into terrifying aurora of the spear. How is this possible? Ling He stared at Futian, unable to believe what he was seeing before his eyes. Wasn't Futian the chosen heir of Eastern Deity Island? How could he possess such terrifying power? Was that the imperial glory on his body? How could he embody the will of the great emperor? Was he really no more than just the chosen heir of Eastern Deity Island? Yen Dongyang's expression was equally comical. His eyes were glued on the scene playing out in front of him, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. A powerful existence of the Eighth Realm had just perished like that, felled with a single strike of the spear. Yi Futian paid no attention to any of them. The spear in his hand pointed forward, and the imperial glory on his body rushed straight into the sky. It was as if directly integrated into the yin-yang pattern, so that the falling light of catastrophe also became golden. "Watch out!" people exclaimed as the light of catastrophe fell. A cultivator of the seventh realm was torn apart instantly, his body shattered into nothingness. The expression of the other cultivators changed drastically. Except for the two cultivators of the eighth realm, the rest of the people were retreating, releasing a terrifying current of the great path. However, Yi Futian was suspended in midair, and the yin-yang pattern kept expanding. The falling yin-yang light of catastrophe shattered and destroyed the great path. Under the light of catastrophe, all the cultivators were also shattered into nothingness. The screams continued, except for the two cultivators of the eighth realm. No one else was able to resist this catastrophic light of destruction. Of course, Yin Dongyang and Ling He were still alive, but it was not because they had the ability to resist. They were still breathing, because Yi Futian was not in a rush to kill them. At this moment, Yi Futian moved toward the two cultivators of the eighth realm. When the light of catastrophe came down, the two cultivators resisted with all their might. When they saw Yi Futian was coming toward them, their faces paled. Buzz! The yin-yang pattern directly shone on a cultivator of the eighth realm. As the two extreme powers of the moon and the sun descended, accompanied by an infinite catastrophic light of swordsmanship, that cultivator of the eighth realm released the Lingxiao pagoda on his body to the extreme to resist the attack. However, Yi Futian disappeared from where he stood in an instant. The long spear blasted upon the Lingxiao pagoda with a loud bang. Under the overwhelming fighting will, the pagoda of the divine will shattered and was destroyed. The light of catastrophe descended as that cultivator of the eighth realm screamed. But in the next moment, a long spear passed through his skull and ended his life. "Who are you?" the remaining cultivator of the eighth realm from the ancient royal family of Yin asked Yi Futian as his eyes fixed upon him. "The one who killed you." As soon as Yi Futian's voice faded away, the spear was unleashed. As the terrifying spear blasted on the sacred dragon, and cracks continued to appear on its body. At the same time, the light of catastrophe fell, tearing the dragon apart, and rushed into their defenses. There was another scream as the yin-yang catastrophe came down upon them. The body of the other shattered little by little, until it turned to dust. In a blink of an eye, an extremely powerful army of Renhuang was reduced to just Yin Dongyang and Ling He, who were still alive. All the others had perished. Yi Futian turned to face Yin Dongyang and Ling He. Finally, there was a strong sense of fear and dread in their eyes. Ling He looked at Yi Futian and said, "You can't kill us. You were killed by a demonic beast. How does that have anything to do with me?" Yi Futian responded coldly. "No," Ling He replied. "If we die here, everyone will know it's your doing. The Yin Kingdom, Lingxiao Palace, and even the domain chief's manor will not let you off the hook. When you were after me, didn't you ever consider the consequences?" The fighting will puffed out of the spear that was in Yi Futian's hand. Its murderous intent was burning hot. He had killed so many by this time that there was no difference if he killed these two or not. Ling He glanced in the direction where those people had disappeared, and seemed to realize that Yi Futian no longer had any recourse. He said, "There is still a chance. As long as you let us go, all the grievances will be forgiven. The Yin Kingdom and Lingxiao Palace will no longer pursue the matter. What say you?" "Pa." The response was a strike from Yi Futian's spear, piercing his throat. Ling He stared at the man in front of him, an extremely painful expression in his eyes. He couldn't believe this was true, that he would be killed just like this. The spear spun slightly, and Ling He's body immediately shattered and turned to dust. It was as if he had never existed in the first place. Yin Dongyang's eyes fixed on Yi Futian, and a great sense of fear struck him. He seemed to have a premonition of his fate. Ling He had been exterminated, and the other would not let him get away with it. He had no escape. "You will be with us soon enough," Yin Dongyang said to Yi Futian. His tone was extremely confident. It was as if he had foreseen the end of Yi Futian. You won't see it anyway, Yi Futian replied. As his voice faded, the light of catastrophe fell. Under that light of catastrophe, Yin Dongyang uttered a terrible cry as his body was torn apart, turning little by little into nothingness. All the cultivators have been killed. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2051. The One Behind the Scenes. Chapter 2051. The one behind the scenes. After Yi Futian had slaughtered all the cultivators, he retracted the imperial glory, which should not be exposed in front of the others. He raised his hand to take away the pagoda that had sealed off the space in the void. The aftershocks of the great path still lingered. He did not leave but stood there in a daze. His brows were knitted tightly, like he had thought of something awful. Yi Futian had a strong sense of foreboding. This was not because he had just killed the cultivators from the ancient royal family of Yan and Lingxiao Palace. Strictly speaking, they had violated the rules first and forced him to fight back, because he had no other choice. What really disturbed him was this whole series of events. It seemed that they could all be linked together. However, if they were to be linked together, they inevitably pointed toward the speculation that would upend all his plans. Worse yet, he may also be facing the calamity between life and death, possibly perishing in the Donghua heavens. Just as Yi Futian was deep in thought, a powerful aura suddenly came from the distant void. He raised his head and saw a group of people descending on him. The man in the lead had divine light shining all over him, possessing an unparalleled temperament. When Yi Futian saw the appearance of this man, his uneasiness became stronger. It was as if his suspicion was getting closer to becoming the truth. Although he was guessing, he had hoped that he was wrong. Once it had been proven to be right, the consequences would be unimaginable. But things seemed to be moving in the worst possible direction. The man that appeared was the #1 genius talent of the Donghua heavens, the proud son of the chief of the Donghua domain chief's manor, Ninghua. The person behind him was the cultivator from domain chief's manor, who had entered the secret zone with him. Ninghua looked down at Yi Futian as his eyes surveyed the area below. His sight swept toward the broken ground and those corpses. His face suddenly became extremely cold, full of murderous intent. Yi Futian didn't explain anything, but merely looked up at Ninghua. Ninghua stared at him as he stepped forward. The light of the grand seal of the great path was shining, and traces of divine glory of the seal enveloped this boundless space. The way of the seal was hidden inside his eyes, and directly rushed into Yi Futian's eyes. Yi Futian suddenly felt that all the will of the great path was sealed shut, and the same with the great path that surrounded him. At this moment, Yi Futian felt the gap. Even though they both possessed a perfect great path, his opponent was an upper Runhuang of the 7th realm at his peak, while he was just a Runhuang 4th realm. The gap between them was not insubstantial. Moreover, Ninghua himself was a genius known as the #1 figure in the Donghua domain. Such a gap was difficult to address. Yi Futian had killed more than a dozen powerful cultivators before, but he knew he had no chance against Ninghua. Above Ninghua, a divine picture of a seal hung high in the sky as the divine light of the great path spilled down upon Yi Futian. At the same time, Ninghua raised his palm and dealt a single blow. This blow shook the void with a violent tremor, and endless palm strikes seemed to overlap, turning into countless patterns of the great path that attacked in unison. Silently, Ninghua directly launched the attack. The long spear in Yi Futian's hand puffed out terrible fighting, while as the spear lanced forward. However, the radiant pattern of the great path swept through his body, and the power of the long spear, as well as the power inside of Yi Futian, seemed to be sealed instantaneously. Multiple hits from the palm strike landed at the same time. Even the aurora of the spear was annihilated. Bang! Yi Futian's body was knocked back, and hit the black mountain wall fiercely, causing the entire side of the mountain to vibrate violently. Sure enough, without any words or questions, he had resort to a strict offense. Yi Futian was obvious on Ninghua's stance, and it also confirmed his suspicion. Suddenly, he felt a coldness all over. It turned out that what he had always wanted to do was a huge mistake in itself. He was walking into the abyss, step by step, all by himself. While in the trial at the secret zone, you slaughtered people from all forces also there for the trial. You should die, Ninghua said with a cold tone. He stood in the void and looked down at Yi Futian. There was contempt in those arrogant eyes. Even though Yi Futian had extraordinary talents, he still had just one thing to say. That was he should be executed. He wanted Yi Futian dead. As soon as his voice fell, all the cultivators behind him immediately moved forward and headed toward Yi Futian. Ninghua didn't need to take action himself. They would take care of Yi Futian and ensure his demise. The terrible aura of the Great Path descended, and Yi Futian looked bad. His eyes were staring coldly at those cultivators who were approaching him. Stop! At this moment there was a great shout. In the distance, with the speed of the wind, the aura of the Great Path descended. Several people were rushing over with extreme speed. It was Li Changsheng, Zhong Chan, and the others who had extricated themselves from the battles on the other side. Vice Chief, what is the meaning of this? Li Changsheng said from midair. When his voice fell, he was already at Yi Futian's side, looking at Ninghua and the cultivators from the domain chief's manor. My father has already said that in the secret zone, there must be no killing. However, Yi Futian has slaughtered all the Renhuang. You may report to the Millet Emperor that this man belongs to the domain chief's manor. Ninghua spoke with total authority. He had no intention to spare Yi Futian's life. Brothers, Yi Futian transmitted his voice to Li Changsheng and Zhong Chan. Is there any way to tell the Millet Emperor that there is a problem with the chief? When Li Changsheng and Zhong Chan heard Yi Futian's voice transmission, their hearts trembled. They were no fools, and when they heard what Yi Futian had to say, a bold possibility came to them suddenly. It made their hearts skip a beat. Was that the problem? This was precisely the reason why Yi Futian felt hopeless. He chose to come to the domain chief's manor to participate in the Donghua banquet, displaying his superior strength and talent, and entered the secret zone for trial. All these efforts were so that he could enter the domain chief's manor with absolute dominance to cultivate. Then, what could the ancient royal family of Yan and Lingxiao Palace possibly do to him? However, he realized now that he was dead wrong. Neither force, the ancient royal family of Yan or Lingxiao Palace, had the slightest scruples about killing him. Why was that? They had set their sights on him from the very beginning. Clearly, they had this intention before entering the secret zone. It was not something that just happened by chance. The Donghua banquet was taking place here, and the chief was just outside. Was demonic beast a plausible excuse? Surely the chief was not so naive as to believe it. Since it was not plausible, why did the others dare to do what they did? Remembering Ling He's aggression and confidence, and Yen Dongyang's last words, coupled with the action of the palace lord of Ling Xiao Palace at the banquet, a thought started to form inside Yi Futian's mind. Even before that, the Ling Xiao Palace had pledged itself to the chief. They might have been doing the bidding of the chief. Before, when Ling He was courting Qin Qing, the goddess of fluttering snow palace, it was also in the effort to link these top forces to form a net of power. Ling He and Qin Qing, Ninghua and Taihua goddess. The more he thought about it, the more alarmed he became. The chief of Donghua domain was the one ruling things behind the scenes. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2052, Lurking Perils. Chapter 2052, Lurking Perils. Yi Futian also remembered something else. The Millet Emperor had asked him if Supreme Deity Donglai had any memory of the last battle. Moreover, if Supreme Deity Donglai still retained some memory of it, why didn't he pass them on to Goddess Donglai? Nor did he tell her the details of that last battle. The Millet Emperor and outsiders knew that Supreme Deity Donglai still had some residual memories of the battle. Now, Yi Futian understood that it was because Supreme Deity Donglai didn't want to implicate Goddess Donglai, and the rest of Eastern Deity Island, as well as the Millet Emperor. If they knew the truth, disaster might ensue. According to Goddess Donglai, the death of Supreme Deity Donglai caused the conflict between the Millet Emperor and the ancient royal family of Yen. The chief came forward to mediate the matter and ruled that the Millet Emperor could not involve himself further with Eastern Deity Island. Based on that ruling, the ancient royal family of Yen dropped the matter with Eastern Deity Island. At the same time, Eastern Deity Island stopped its involvement with the outside world, so peace was restored. Although the ancient royal family of Yen and Wangshan Watchtower had grudges, they were able to maintain a semblance of peace, and the Donghua domain remained orderly. However, now Yi Futian truly comprehended that the death of Supreme Deity Donglai not only involved the ancient royal family of Yen and Lingxiao Palace, but it was also very possible that the domain chief's manor was behind the whole thing. This was the reason why when they were at Turtle Deity Island, in front of the chief, Lingxiao Palace did not hesitate to get between the grudge match between the ancient royal family of Yen and Wangshan Watchtower. After that, the two sides had always worked together in their dealings with Wangshan Watchtower. After they entered the secret zone, they had flouted the rules set by the chief and directly moved against them with bad intentions. After giving the matter considerable thought, everything suddenly became clear. The chief of the Donghua domain chief's manor was the true power backing the ancient royal family of Yen and Lingxiao Palace. Because of this, they had no qualms about killing them here as they please, intending on killing him and all the cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower in one fell swoop. They didn't need to worry that the chief would punish them. The chief was one behind the scenes. Why would he punish them? Of course, Yi Futian suspected that he might be the fuse. His talent had alarmed many. Otherwise, everything may remain the same as it was before. For the sake of maintaining order in the Donghua domain, Chief Ning could do nothing against them. It wouldn't really threaten them anyway. His existence had motivated many with the worst of intentions. Okay, Li Changsheng replied quickly. Clearly, he had a way to get in touch with the Millet Emperor. He had traded transmission treasures back when he was at Penglai Deity Island. Other top figures may also have transmission items at their disposal. When he heard Yi Futian's voice transmission, Li Changsheng understood that this matter was of grave importance and would likely affect the entire Wangshan Watchtower. Even his master, the Millet Emperor, would not be spared. Before, the master was only hypothesizing that Lingxiao Palace may have participated. Still, no one could have thought that the person behind it all was the helmsman of Donghua Domain, Chief Ning. As a result, the entire Wangshan Watchtower was now in the same precarious situation as Eastern Deity Island once was. At the domain chief's manor, the clouds and mist surrounded the place with a divine aura. Inside Donghua Palace, a group of top masters was still there. They drank while looking down at a mountain below, which would be the exit of the secret zone. Those who entered the Fuyao secret zone would eventually emerge after they had run through its course. The group chatted casually, talking and laughing, discussing who would be the first cultivator to get out of the secret zone. At this point, the palace lord of Lingxiao Palace, who was talking and laughing, suddenly turned pale. His face became extremely gloomy, and a terrible aura spread from him. It caused the entire Donghua Palace to quiet instantly. Everyone looked at Ling Yunzi, the palace lord of Lingxiao Palace. Someone asked, "What's happening?" Chief Ning also looked at Ling Yunzi and asked, "What is it?" Ling Yunzi showed a pained look in his eyes, clenching his fists. He said, "Something has happened to Ling He." Chief Ning's expression changed slightly. Everyone within the Donghua Palace had different looks on their faces, but they were all wondering, did Ling He perish in the secret zone? Although there was some danger in the secret zone, Ning Hua and the others from the domain chief's manor were with him as well. Theoretically speaking, someone with Ling He's status ought to be fine. However, at this moment, Ling Yunzi suggested that something had happened to Ling He. While Ling He was in the secret zone, no one outside would know what happened inside. Ling Yunzi would only get a sense of foreboding if Ling He were dead. Clink! The sound of broken wine glass was heard. Before anyone understood what happened, they looked in the direction of the sound. It was Emperor Yen. Emperor Yan's face had a horrible look on it as the wine glass shattered in his palm and turned into dust, the wine spilling on the table. His eyes were a little hollow as he looked in the direction of Chief Ning. He whispered, "Dongyang. Yin Dongyang." Everyone trembled in their hearts. What was going on? Ling He and Yin Dongyang, two genius talents from two major principalities, descendants of prominent heritage, coupled with strong cultivation and outstanding talents. How could both of them have died? Furthermore, didn't they bring Top Ren Huang with them? For a moment, Donghua Palace was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. There was also a slight sense of suppression. Did they encounter danger in the secret zone? Emperor Shi whispered, breaking the silence inside the Donghua Palace. Chief Ning glanced around and offered, "You both have our condolences." The Millet Emperor sat quietly. He faintly felt that an aura from Emperor Yin and Ling Yunzi falling on him. He frowned and wondered, could this have anything to do with Wangshan Watchtower? But everyone was in the secret zone, so no one knew exactly what was happening. Unless they had planned this ahead of time. Without thinking more about the matter, his heart trembled suddenly. His eyes sharpened slightly when he received a message, and he was stunned for just a second. The Millet Emperor controlled his own emotions, so that there was no fluctuation in his own aura. As if everything was business as usual, he lowered his head and took a sip from the wine glass. But there was a great disturbance in his heart. Could it be Domain Chief's manner of Donghua Domain? The Millet Emperor was a little bewildered before, but everything became clear when he received this message. He now understood everything. However, he could not afford to reveal this knowledge. "Chief, it suddenly occurred to me that I have something that needs handling. I need to leave for a few moments." Millet Emperor controlled his emotions and raised his glass to Chief Ning. Chief Ning looked at the Millet Emperor with a strange look in his eyes, but asked softly, "It's not easy for us to get together. What's so important?" "A private matter," the Millet Emperor responded, and Chief Ning nodded slightly, not revealing whether or not he had any doubts. On the surface, everything seemed to be just fine. What does the Millet Emperor mean by this? Ling Yunzi said suddenly, his voice icy. Emperor Yin also looked at him with a cold expression. These two major cultivators both dropped their aura faintly on the Millet Emperor. "I don't understand the meaning of your words," said the Millet Emperor with a frown. Lingxiao Palace and the Yin Kingdom happened to have some grievances with Wangshan Watchtower. And now, something has happened to Ling He and Yin Dongyang. What does the Millet Emperor know? Ling Yunzi said coldly. The Millet Emperor ordered the hit? Emperor Yin interrogated unceremoniously without any further pretenses. "Are you kidding me?" Likewise, the Millet Emperor released wisps of pressure from his body. The chief set the rules regarding this trip to the secret zone. Would I be so foolish as to let the people of Wangshan Watchtower violate them? Besides, you two were full of confidence before, specifically targeting the cultivators from Wangshan Watchtower. How dare you attribute the cause of any mishaps to me now? When did Wangshan Watchtower become so worthy in your eyes? Do you think that your cultivators are somehow inferior to my disciple inside the secret zone? Or, do the two of you know something that made you suspect Wangshan Watchtower in the first place? The Millet Emperor's questioning silenced everyone for a while. The thunder-punishing Skylord said, "Before, it was always Lingxiao Palace and the Yin Kingdom that took the initiative. Even inside the secret zone, the Millet Emperor would not be so bold as to authorize Wangshan Watchtower to make enemies of two great principalities. Not to mention, it would violate the rules set by the chief. This is indeed unreasonable." Ling Yunzi and Emperor Yin looked at the thunder-punishing Skylord with indifference. They knew what orders they had given, so they had a pretty good idea of what might have happened. Their estimation would not be too far off. Otherwise, they couldn't figure out who gave the order. However, some things could not be said openly. He couldn't very well admit that they had ordered the people from the two great principalities to assassinate Wangshan Watchtower and Yi Futian. The Millet Emperor picking this juncture to leave is too much of a coincidence. If the Millet Emperor thinks that this has nothing to do with Wangshan Watchtower, why not stay? Said the Palace Lord of Lingxiao Palace coldly. Ling Yunzi, you mean to suggest that I gave this kind of order, and now I'm going to abandon the disciples of Wangshan Watchtower and get myself out of here. The Millet Emperor's eyes were now sharp and unforgiving as he questioned Ling Yunzi. This line of logic was in itself contradictory and absurd. As soon as he finished speaking, the Millet Emperor stood up and said, "If I want to leave, are you going to stop me?" Then the pressure from his body was released. Instantly, this space became extremely suppressed. The aura of the great path from these three men collided with each other, causing a gust of wind to blow within Donghua Palace. A dead silence. Everyone else was watching quietly. No one spoke. This kind of conflict would not be participated by other forces. It was enough for them to wait and see. No need to argue. We will get to the bottom of this. I can understand your feelings, but it is best to wait for them to come out. At this time, Chief Ning said, "If the Millet Emperor has something else to handle, please go and take care of it." The Millet Emperor looked at Chief Ning deeply. Judging from Chief Ning's strength and status, everything must be under his control, but so was he. The disciples of Wangshan Watchtower were still in the secret zone. What else could he do? Suppressing the thoughts in his head, the Millet Emperor nodded slightly and said, "Thank you, Chief." With that, he turned to step into the void and disappeared. Watching his departing figure, Emperor Yin and Ling Yunzi's both appeared extremely gloomy. The Millet Emperor must have gotten some news. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.